What's up, guys? What's going on? I'm Paul. This is Paul Theology's daily devotional, man, and we are going through the book of Exodus. We are in Exodus chapter 8. We are in verse 9 and 10. I'm sorry, we're in verse 10 and 11. 10 and 11. So if you haven't read it yet, stop the tape, check it out, see what it has to say. Come back, man. We're going to answer the 4 questions. The first question that we're going to ask, if you've already read it, is what's happening. We have the petition that Moses has placed for Pharaoh. Then we have the answered prayer that the frogs have gone back to the Nile. They've died. Matter of fact, now in verse 11, we're going to see the results. See, God, when he works, man, he is not playing. Matter of fact, it says that there were heaps and heaps or piles and piles of these frogs that just died because God had told them to die. He gave relief to the frog epidemic. The thing that Pharaoh was like, bro, I can't handle these frogs all up in my bed, all up in my ovens, all up in my dresses, everywhere, all over the place. Places where they should not be, they were. When things got tough for Pharaoh, Pharaoh wanted to seek God, right? When things got hard for Pharaoh, Pharaoh wanted to seek God. You know, in the previous strikes before this one, the effects weren't very difficult for him. Maybe a passing, hurt or a small little twinge for him, but nothing real major. It was mostly for the people of Egypt, and he didn't care too much about them because he didn't petition them. He said, "No, nothing happening for them." But then when something inconveniences Pharaoh himself, then he acts. He cries out to God, man. What's that sound like, man? What's that sound like? Sounds like them Foxhole prayers, right? And what do we see happen in those Foxhole prayers at times? We see whenever they get out the foxhole, when the war is over, they go back to doing what it is that they want to do. And for Pharaoh, there is not a difference in that scenario of the Foxhole prayer and his scenario now. As stuff got tough, he called out to God. But as things got smooth, he went back to the way things were. He said, I ain't letting the people go, man. They mine. They serving me. Not you, God. They going to worship me, the true God. That's what he's saying. They ain't going out to worship Yahweh. That's what happened. It says his heart got heavy, or he hardened his heart again. The weight of his own desire came back. He ain't softened up, man. That's what happened. That's what happened. So what's this say about God? Well, first off, I think we have to understand and know that God knows everything, right? He knows everything. He knows the heart of Pharaoh because beforehand he said Pharaoh was going to harden his heart, man, and he ain't going to let the people go except with a heavy hand. And so when God answers the prayer of Moses to give relief to the suffering of Pharaoh, he already knew that Pharaoh wasn't listening. So what does that mean about God? He is a merciful God. He is a gracious God. How many times do we find ourselves in positions that we don't like? And we cry out to God, and then he saves us from those for us to just turn around and do our own thing again? See, God does that for us, man, because he's gracious. He knows that we're going to go back. We're going to disobey. We're going to live our own life despite his help in our calling out, in our foxhole. So God is gracious. He is merciful. Man, that's a good guy. That's a good guy. It makes me think a lot of times of how good and how loving he is for him to call me to himself, to bring me to his fold, to take me into his kingdom, knowing that I would ridicule, belittle, put a smudge, a scourge on his name by claiming to be part of his kingdom, yet living far from it, man. Yet God in his graciousness and his mercy allows me to be a part of that kingdom. See, that's the God I'm talking about right here. People don't be seeing that God when they're looking at the Old Testament. A lot of times they be thinking about all the punishment which we are seeing here. They're talking about the judgment which we are seeing here and the wrath which we are seeing here. They want to talk about that, but they don't want to look at the graciousness, the mercy. They don't want to look at that in regards to the God of the Old Testament, to Yahweh, because here he is, knowing for doggone sure that Pharaoh going to go back to what he wants, not going to let the people go. So why would God relent? Why would God allow for those frogs to go away and for Pharaoh to go back to some peace and quiet? It's because he is displaying his grace, displaying his mercy. What does this say about mankind? Our hearts. Because in the end, without the intervention of the Spirit of God moving in us, we're going to do what we want. Yeah, we're going to cry out because we know who God is. We know the power of God. We know the goodness of God. We know his love because he has shown us these things daily. And then we take advantage of it. This is not far from the nature of us as sinful man. We take advantage of God's gracious goodness, his lavish love. We take advantage of it, and that is exactly what Pharaoh was doing, and it is exactly what we do. It is exactly what we do. So how do we apply these truths in our lives then, man? How do we get away from this cycle of crying out and then doing whatever we want once we're out of the muck and the mess? It's devotion. It's seeing God for who he is and recognizing his goodness. In the end, he's not going to tolerate it, man. The judgment will come. But he gives us these shinings, these glorious moments, these precious times and points and positions so that we can see how wonderful he is. And so let's not take advantage of those. Man, let's soak them up. Let's soak them up. Let's recognize his goodness. Let's recognize his wonder and then soak those up, man. Take those to heart and let them change us. Let his spirit move in us and let us follow his lead. And I pray this for each and every one of you guys. God, be with them, touch them, move them, strengthen them in your spirit and your will. Let them know how powerful and wonderful you are. Let me know how powerful and wonderful you are. And let me just attach onto that and share it with others, your goodness and your glory. Help me to know you more as I see your grace, I see your mercy, and I see your wonder through the scriptures and in my own life. Help me to show this to others and reveal this as you revealed it to us. We love you and we praise you. Amen. Hey, I'll see you guys in the next episode.